partnered up with somebody else on this pitch, and he's obviously not here with me, so I might just be hopping around from slide to slide, so bear with me. Okay, so here's our team: Randy Touchstone, myself, and then Mike. So Randy and I are both on the industrial leasing team at JLL. I've been at JLL for about 4 years now. In college, I had a background of supply chain and operations management, so that just led me into this real estate business. And as I started working at JLL about 4 years ago as an analyst, doing all things tenant rep and leasing, and then as I kind of ended my 1.5 years of being an analyst, Randy and I started working a little bit more together. And he was focused primarily on the leasing side, everyone else is on the tenant rep side. And we just clicked, and he needed help, and I was here to help in as many ways as I could. And so today we're looking at this y'all's 3 building site plan. We think overall, great site plan. It's right off 75, which has great visibility. 320,000 feet on 3 buildings. Just good use of there's a word I'm looking for and I'll remember it. So first building, building A. So this building fronts right on 75. It's 75,000 feet, 32 clear. There's so that's great for this size. Typically we see buildings anywhere from 50 to maybe 100,000 feet that are anywhere from 28 to 32 clear. So this will be a huge plus, especially just having that frontage on 75. Having those extra future doors and oversized doors, this will really allow for any tenants that are wanting, so any more retail feel tenants that we're expecting to see in these buildings. We're hoping that that's an appeal there. So with this building being 75,000 feet, it's pretty shallow. Oh, I should have this. It's 180 feet deep. So this really allows it to be able to chop it into a few tenants. So really, we'd expect anywhere from 1 to 3 tenants in this building. If we wanted to, if a 15,000 foot tenant came banging on our door saying, hey, we really want this space, we're willing to pay a premium for it, I think in those situations we can bump up that TI, bump up the rent. I think that that option is there too. If there's a full tenant building that's looking to want all the frontage, and want the full building, I think we can do both. So there's a lot of flexibility in being able to chop it up, or just a single tenant building. Building B, we're expecting to have either a full tenant or split it in, split it and split to 2 tenants. 32 clear as well. This I think is going to be a little bit more competitive with a few other buildings in McKinney. So as you guys know, McKinney is a lot smaller, not a big box submarket, and so we'll see a lot more of the shallow bay 75 and 65,000 footers. So this will compete a little bit more with Transwestern's development. They'll compete a little bit with Becknell, even though we don't really see Becknell's development as competition, just because their location is far worse and they're a lot cheaper. They've been delivered for about 6 or 8 months now, and so we're hoping by the time you guys deliver, they will be closer to being fully leased. But good access coming off 75, off the frontage road, and then just having the north and south access points are huge, or really helpful for this building. And then lastly, building C. So this building is a little bit smaller. Okay, wait, I'm sorry. Okay, so for building C, 67,000 feet, because of the dock door count, we're likely going to want to push for a full tenant building, single tenant building. I think splitting it would just be a little bit more difficult than you'd end up with. I mean, if we're at 12 doors, then 30,000 feet with 5 or 6 doors just doesn't really make sense, especially being in the back building. And so I think hold off for a full tenant, It's 32 clear, again, easy access on the north side of Building A and Building B, south side of Building C. We have the spec office in all 3 buildings, which is a plus, and we recommend it for all of our clients that are going spec. We recommend spec office in all buildings, lights in all of the buildings, and then levelers. And I think with Building A, having 2 office pods, I think you could get away with just speccing in one, but having the 2 just allows it to be a little bit more functional. And if there's 2 tenants looking to occupy quickly, then one can take the north side and one can take the south side. So quick strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Lots of strengths here. We really were challenged with the weaknesses looking at the site plan. So good site plan, 32-foot clear, which is what we'd recommend on any other developer or group. Spec office, lights, levelers, that's what we're seeing with all new developments. We've had a few groups that have built buildings spec, not put office in, not put lights, and they've just missed quick move, fast moving deals for tenants that are wanting to occupy in the next 60 to 90 days. Rear loader, which works great for the McKinney market. We could do some, So rear loaders are great for the McKinney market. There's some bigger box developments that compete that are cross docks. We don't see a ton of them. I think total there's 5, including Core 5's new development. So something that McKinney's used to seeing. Great location, good highway visibility off 75, really functional layout. And then, this is the best side of the submarket. It's got the visibility off 75. It's, new construction. Any other new builds that are going on right now don't have this frontage, and they're just a lot bigger boxes where we're seeing a lot of the McKinney growth that's already, a lot of the growth in McKinney we're seeing is from tenants that are already there, from people that already live there, from people that are wanting to service Sherman, south side of Northeast Dallas, and so it's just good on all fronts. Some challenges that we're going to see is pricing. We're going to be the most expensive building in McKinney. The only other buildings that really compete with this project is Stone Lake's buildings, and by the time that you guys deliver, they will be fully leased up. They had some challenges as well, but I just think it's waiting for the right tenant to come that really needs the space. And then this one was also a little bit of a stretch, but shallow truck court on the north end of Building A. And I mean, with that shallow bay, with the size of the building and with the tenants that we think are going to occupy the space, we don't foresee them needing a lot of truck access or high I've got it, but yeah. And then opportunities. This is new product in a tight market. So we've, as I've mentioned, this is going to be really the newest development that's been going on. Transwestern is going to have their development, and that's going to, that'll deliver Q2, beginning of Q2 next year. A little bit bigger box. Their 155 will compete. But there's so much pent-up demand in McKinney that we just think it's going to excel. Rising rental rates year over year. McKinney's So year over year, McKinney's grown 12 to 15% on their rates for the last 5 years, really since COVID. And so that's just another opportunity to find a tenant that wants a space and they're willing to pay the premium because there's no other availabilities left. We've had experience leasing buildings in McKinney. We leased 500,000 feet with Transwestern and hit pro formas, beat pro formas. And then we also leased 300,000 feet in just south of Transwestern's building pre-leased it to one of the biggest. Pre-leased it to a tenant. Pre-leased it to a tenant that was looking for some big box space, needed to service Sherman, needed to service Louisville. That was the only big box building that was available in the market. And so just, I think looking at both of those developments, it was seeing new challenges. We had that thesis in underwriting Transwestern's development and then not really having a market to base it off of. And then again, going to CA's building, their 300, and saying, hey, this is the only big box building available in McKinney. There's going to be some challenges, but hitting the nail on both developments. And then some threats. Demand in McKinney isn't going to stop, which don't know if that's a threat or an opportunity, but there's just going to be tenants that continue to need space. They're going to need it today, and so just dealing with those and trying to find the tenant that wants to occupy. Economic uncertainty. We think that this is helpful, or we think that as timing of the election has gone and passed, we feel that this tenant sentiment okay, I'm just going to start over. Okay, so economic uncertainty. We feel that as the election has gone and passed, tenants for the last 6 to 8 months have kind of they've been kicking tires. They've not really wanted to make any decisions. They've been pushing their leases, signing 1 to 2 year renewals, which is something that we really haven't seen the last 2 years. And so I think with the start of the new year, just having that base of saying, hey, we know what we're working with and what are our next steps here. And then market competition, Core 5's development, that's going to be breaking ground first of the year next year, and then Transwestern's buildings, which we don't really think compete, but they will be buildings. They will be available. So here's a rough overview of just the Allen McKinney market from the third quarter of this year. Vacancies at 8.9%, which we'll typically see anywhere from 7 to 10%, so feels right. 7% available. Asking rents are $950, and they were, $850 about 2 or 3 quarters ago. We've absorbed 1.5 million, and that's really only because there isn't a lot of product left in the market. And then we've delivered 946,000 feet with another 500 under construction. And then so just something good to see, supply and demand. So this year we absorbed more than we delivered. So that's just saying, hey, we don't have any product left in McKinney. We need something on the ground so that it can be absorbed by the tenants that are looking for some space. Same thing with 2022, just absorbing more than we're seeing is available today. And then just another good point, average asking rents, we're at $950 today. It's just, dime or so above last year, but trending from 22 and then jumping about $1 a foot is just good to see. And then some lease comps, you'll have these, we've sent them to you, but it's just really interesting to see. I mean, if we're looking at the bottom of the list that have, a few leases that were signed in 2020, we're seeing these numbers, and it's $7.50, $8 a foot with a little bit in TI. And then just going to the lease comps of today's buildings, I mean, there's 4 or 5 buildings here that are sub 10, which just really shows the growth of the market, and rents that we underwrote 3 years ago are up $2 or $3 from where we guessed. So just good data points to see, with the annual bumps going from 2 and staying pretty consistent at 4.
Okay, thank you.